Hello everyone. Welcome back to the Uplift Podcast Series. We are back with our second episode, and today's guest is someone very special to me as well. So, if you all have gone through the Instagram, the YouTube, and if you are definitely into the legal field, I'm pretty much sure that you might have come across this name, Aashna Jain. So, today I'm having Aashna with me, and to give a formal introduction, she has worked in top firms like Shardul, Amarchand, Mangaldas, Associates. But what truly makes her very different and what is remarkable about her that today she is actually doing something of her own, and which is actually a guiding factor for numerous and hundreds of law students, I would believe, and even the professionals. And there we come across with a proper brand called Career Solutions by Aashna Jain. So Aashna, I'm very thankful for you that you have accepted this invitation and we are here today with you.
Right. Thank you so much. In fact, such a humbling introduction for me. Thank you so much. And likewise, I think very special to be, for me to be here on this podcast with you. So the pleasure is also mine at this point. Yes.
Thank you, Ashna. So, quickly going into our segment first. So, generally, what happens that I'm pretty much sure that whenever there is a question which is being posted to you, is always about resume, it's always about CV, it's always about mentoring student. We will be going there because that is definitely going to be helpful for the listeners. But before that, I want to know something about you. Let's start
Right.
from there first. Okay.
Right.
So
Right.
today, when you see the social media platform and you say that, oh my God, I'm having 500 plus videos and 40K followers around me, so many people watching. What is the point you feel in your mind? Do you really feel that yes, of course, I have done something, I have built something? Like, what is the storyline behind it? How do you feel about it?
So, honestly speaking, I don't think numbers are that big also for me at this point. There are many people, in fact, people way younger than me who have like way many followers. So I don't think followers is a metric per se. But yes, I think I feel very fulfilled, when I give out a few tips and it resonates with like thousands of people out there. So I think that is one moment where I feel that, okay, I'm actually contributing to something. Let's say when there's a student who reaches out to me and says that, I've gotten 5 internships now, I'm very thankful to you. I was in the throes of my, depressive thinking, but now I'm very happy because of this. So thank you so much. That is when I feel that, okay, maybe some contribution is actually there, because otherwise the imposter syndrome is very real for, especially for me, it's very, very real. So I think, and plus, in a profession like this where there is no measurement ka metric, basically, it's not like a profession wherein I can actually bring down the numbers and say, ki, okay, I've done these 500 deals, I've done these 1,000 deals. So I know there's no validation metric for me. So it's only when someone reaches out to me, even months or years after when they've interacted me and said that, oh, that time when we interacted and this helped me, it's like more than enough validation for me. And as long as when you ask me the question about that, whether I've made it or not, I don't think I've made it at all. There's so much for me to understand about the whole system itself. I am learning new things literally every day. It's been so hectic, but yeah, I don't think I've made it ever. But yes, I think the first time that I got a thrill out of it is when, maybe let's say a law school would have invited me to, let's say, give a lecture. And I was like, why are they flying me to their law school to give a lecture? Why? What is so special about what I'm saying there, right? So I think that is when I got maybe that first thrill. But if we actually are on the question of whether I've made it or not and whether I think about it, I don't think I've made it. There's a lot for me to learn in this profession itself. Yeah. So yeah.
Ashna, I would say that you're being very generous about it. Okay, you should actually see from the learner's perspective, because what I feel that even I do learn from my students, and I say that without hesitation.
Right.
Every day, like even today, I just told you that I was just going through a reel of you, and we just started with this conversation. So I
Right.
was actually, looking at the things that how you're trying to do it. So every day, I think it's a learning experience. And yes, of course,
Definitely.
that is very rightly said that the matrix is not something which we count across. But
Mm.
yes, of course, if you see from the learner's perspective, I feel that there are so many takeaways which you give to the learners every day.
I'm glad. I'm glad. This is, like I said, one more validation for me to sleep peacefully at night today. Yes.
Because we have
Right.
been interacted and we have done quite a good workshops and everything. So yes, of
Right.
course, I can definitely say. Okay,
Right.
now since you have mentioned something related to posting, so I just wanted to ask you something about it. So when when you put across the first video of yours or the first reel or something of that, did you had anything in your mind with respect to being judgmental, or what the people are going to think about me, or what is going to be the outcome, how is going to people treat it? Did you had anything, that kind of feeling
Right.
going
So I think when I gave up, or like when I put up my first post, it wasn't even actually a video. And then maybe like subsequently, Reels got introduced and like other video formats got introduced. But then when I had put up my first post, I just sent it, to my boyfriend and now my husband at that point in time. I was like, see, I put up one post and all. But then, even I was very negative about it. I was like, I anyway don't stick to anything for very long. Maybe I'll just close this page in like 5 months, who knows, but I'll just do it now, that's it. And I told him very specifically that don't send it to friends and all, we'll just keep it essay, let's just see how it grows or not. And let's not publicize it in front of people, because obviously I have that fear of judgment, like you rightly said, that what if people say something about me. Of course everybody has that, and I'm not immune to it at all. But I think as and when I started posting on it, my friends were very supportive. In fact, like my boyfriend, my friends, my family members were very supporting, just generally, like they felt that it was good content. So I was also getting that sort of a feeling that okay, fine, I'm actually contributing onto something. And then when I stuck onto it for like 5 months, 6 months, a year, and I didn't give up on that page, so I was like, okay, I'm actually doing something. So that is one. I think the major hesitation that I felt was when I started posting on YouTube, is because it was long form content and like you put up like 8-10 minutes long videos, etc. So that is when I sort of had an initial hesitation. That's why it's also been very on and off for me in terms of YouTube. But yeah, generally speaking, everybody has that hesitation. I've been through it. But I think the best way to go about is to just post it, get done with it. Let people think you're cringe. That's okay. At the end of the day, you've done your job. You can just log off after that. So I think I had that mentality, and I still do have it. In fact, for the reel that you were talking about for today, it's on my other channel. I felt cringe posting. It was like, anyway, I'll just do it. It's okay. I've been doing it. Might as well get done with it. So yeah, that's my mantra, to like post things basically, to feel cringe and still do it
Still
at
do
the
it.
end of the day. Yeah, yeah.
So, you have said something which was, I think, which is a keyword from what you mentioned, and you just said it in a flow.
Mhm.
Something called consistency.
Right,
That
right,
is something
right.
which is always lacking, no matter whatever we do. So, this is something
Mhm.
which comes with the nature. We started, and then we were like, okay, then the judgmental part comes into picture, and then
Right.
we are like, okay, fine, let's leave it. Let's
Yeah,
leave it. It's not
right.
working. Let's go for something else. So yes, of course, amazingly put across. Consistency is something which we should, always follow.
Definitely,
You
definitely.
have actually answered my next, question which was coming across. Fortunately, I already knew your boyfriend, now husband, so I
Right.
know that what kind of connection was there. So I knew him from before, and obviously that is the reason we share such a good bond together. So with
Right.
that, I also want to ask you that, of course, after marriage things changes, right?
Mhm.
And
Right.
coming across from a married family and as a working woman, so I know myself that there's a lot things which to balance across. So if
Mhm.
I'll just put it in this way, like, how is the family support for you? Like, what is the system working for you?
Right, right. So actually, I'd like to answer it in two parts. So from the time that when I actually started Career Solutions also, and now, after marriage also, and I'm actually continuing it. So I think when the time that I started off, while before my wedding, so I was working in a law firm, and I just one fine day told my parents that, okay, I'm leaving my second job also. So they're like, why do you keep leaving things? Just stick to them for once. Like I said, right, that consistency was an issue for me in the past. So I think that is one thing. And they also said that we can't really help you in this profession because we don't know anything about it. Like, because both my parents are chartered accountants actually. So, and they're not into teaching, technically speaking, in terms of chartered accountancy. Of course, my mother runs a school now. That's also her story. But the point being that they were like, we can't help you in this particular thing because it's online, and like you're not even doing like a very traditional coaching. We don't understand half the things that you're doing. We don't understand a lot about marketing as well. So I mean, you want to leave your job, okay, leave it, but then we won't be able to help you, and maybe it's a wrong decision, to leave the job. So I was, but then I was like, I've anyway left Sam once, I'll leave Dua, I'll maybe get another job after this if it
Yes.
doesn't work out. So I just told my dad, I'll take 3 months, work on this. And if it doesn't work out from January, I'm going to join
Hmm.
a chamber and like continue my litigation with a chamber
Hmm.
lawyer now. Because I was in the disputes team at Dua. So I think that happened at that time, that they were okay with me because they'd seen me, after Sam,
Hmm.
that I
Yes.
anyway would leave it. I
Hmm.
wouldn't wait for anybody's this thing ki, okay, like we going to give you permission. So that has never been the dynamic between my parents. So they were always okay with the decisions that I've taken. And so I think that happened at that time. But they were very happy in how I was contributing to my work and I was sticking to it. Like that, the most important thing for them was
Most
please stick
important,
to it.
yes.
Yeah, just be consistent in whatever you're doing. And I think after marriage, so honestly speaking, it has been a very unconventional answer when I give this because a lot of people would also like to think that, things change after marriage. But somehow they haven't really changed for me even one bit after marriage. Like I am being not, I don't want to paint a rosy picture. Like I know it doesn't happen for
Yes,
everybody. Like I've spoken with you on this, in detail, but I really have no responsibilities even after getting married. So like I just live my same life. I'll get up, have my coffee, start working. And
hmm.
like, once my day is over, I'll just play with my cat. In fact, I have a cat now. So that's a very good addition to my life. So I'll just play with my cat, interact with people in the house, and then just go back to sleep. And it's a privilege. Like I
The
swear
privilege,
it's a privilege.
actually.
And it's not, it shouldn't be taken as a universal answer for anybody. So I don't think I'm the right person for it. In
Hmm.
fact, I think you would be the right person to elaborate because you have so many responsibilities at your house and like, you manage the whole house. I know this. And your entire life along with it. But honestly speaking, for me, it has been just a matter of luck, chance, and privilege that I've gotten like in-laws and otherwise the entire family's just been like, okay, like you just keep continue living your life, how you were living before. So it's just been very funnily nice thing for me, but people don't agree with it. They just try to think that I'm just painting some rosy picture and like
Rosy
how
picture.
this is not
Right.
how it happens. I know it doesn't happen like this, but it has just happened with me. So I'm just glad that my work has actually continued, wherever it has to. Like even in terms of my work travels or
Hmm.
anything that I do, I will like I had a dynamic with my parents. I'll just inform everybody in the house that I have this work travel coming up and I'll be going out the house, etc. And they're like, okay, great, good luck, and that's it basically. So yeah, like I've been very lucky, touch wood, on that front for myself. Yeah.
In that note, because we have already spoken about it, and you said that you will be the right person to answer, I would say, Ashna, on this, because you've been very consistent and very true to your work. So I think that could also be one of the add-on
Yeah.
factor for the
Right.
people to understand that, of course, she is doing something which she's actually, liking. And obviously, see, let's face it, finances is something which is actually bringing across things together. So
Sure.
when you are actually doing certain things, and come on, take it in a right way, when you spend money on your career and hobby, people get judgmental, right? So
Right.
that
Right.
is a factual situation which happens across. And of course, if you're not taking decision for yourselves, then other are definitely going to step in and take decisions for you. That is
Yes.
a factual thing
Yes.
which
Yes.
happens. So
Sure.
I think that you okay, you are putting it this way that you have become lucky, but then I would put it in this way that no, you're not being lucky. Actually, you're very true to your work, and that is the reason you are getting the life which you are
Yeah,
leading today.
actually, now that you say it, like for example, let's say I take Saturdays off from my work, and Saturday is the only day. So I'll work on Sunday also, and I'll work on all other days. So typically, while people take 2 days off, I'm like, I can't be free for 2 days. I just need one day
Yes,
for myself. Now it is such a, I would say, running joke in the entire family. People are like, if you want to meet Ashna, just come on Saturday. That's the only
Saturday
day that she's available. And now, everybody has just understood that we can't just go and barge into her space on any
space.
other day because it's her working day. So even
Hmm.
if I'm working from home, technically I have a home office. So it's like they will still not bother me for anything on any other day. In fact, not even on Saturday. It's just like a running joke now that they understand that Saturday is the only day when she's free
Free.
and she's available for any other thing apart from the work that she's doing. So I understand that they have started respecting my boundaries because I am respecting it in the first
Exactly,
place.
exactly. So
I
I think
understand.
it goes hand in hand, and you've been very dedicated to something which is actually a result of what you are here today. Okay,
Right.
now moving towards the reality which we are facing every day. You are also dealing with so many learners. I am also dealing with so many students these days. So quickly, I want to shift to the broader perspective of legal industry. But before going into that particular perspective, and since you have a foundation of law, and you are actually, we are talking about how family supports. So before going into a deeper perspective, I just wanted to ask you, was law always your first choice, or you had some other
So,
second options also?
right. So honestly speaking, I was very confused, while I was in class 11 because I'd taken up commerce. Like I mentioned previously, both my parents are chartered accountants. So they had taken for granted कि चलो CA ही करना है, like obviously like CA ही
हाँ,
करेंगे. So and plus I'm an only child also, so I don't have a
हाँ,
sibling. So like CA करो, CA करो. So I was like, no, I mean, and plus I would say unfortunately only both of them have been like very like studious people, like they have been like rank holders in CA, both of them. So it was all the more very difficult for me to live up to that pressure. Also in my mind, I was like, I anyway can't do CA. I am so bad at accounts, and plus over that, what if I fail a subject matter? They will just disown me. I used to think, obviously, on that front, they had never said anything,
yes,
but they
of
used to
course.
have this unreal expectation. Oh, obviously you will pass. So I was like, what is this expectation? What if I fail? Like, why can't you just say ki, ha, it's okay?
It's
That you.
okay.
So
हाँ,
I had this unreal pressure on my mind that I am going to fail CA because I hate accounts. I anyway didn't understand. I still don't know how I wrote my boards for accounts, but I used to be so bad in it. So I was like, I will do anything but CA. So that was obviously a shocker for my parents both. Then they said, what do you want to do? So I talked to everybody. I spoke to like civil servants. I spoke to lawyers. I spoke to like people who've done MBAs, people who are into teaching, and I didn't seem to like anything, and I liked everything. So I was like, what do I do? So then I think it was very random. I'm sitting in my school one day, some CLAT coaching people came to my college and like this old law like anything, and I was sold at that. कि अब तो law ही करना है, of course,
वही
like
करना है.
such a lucrative career. They've told me there's nothing better, I think, than law, and I enrolled myself in coaching. And luckily, like again, I think with the grace of God, I got into NLU Jodhpur also. So
Hmm.
I wouldn't say it was the first choice for me, but I think maybe like method of negation, the fact that I decided very early on in my class 11th itself कि CA तो नहीं होगा as
नहीं
a
होगा.
commerce student. Then when you're a commerce student, you don't have other options. Like people expect you to do CA, MBA, or law. So I was like, I'll just pick up law now because I have nothing better to do. So it was by method of negation for me, basically, that I did law myself. Yeah. Yeah.
That's so great, right? You applied all those permutation and combinations, and then you landed up at a very right place. That okay, fine, this is something which I'm looking for.
Right.
And
And the
actually,
best part is I'm not even practicing law at this point. So,
yes,
so
yes.
that is also there. But like yeah, by method of negation, I reached here basically.
Yes,
Yes.
and of course, you're not practicing law, but you're making other people practice so well. So that is something which can be taken into
Right.
consideration,
Right.
right?
Right.
Okay. Now, yes, of course. I think it's something which is very, very good to connect, because people are definitely confused that how you're going to do things, what is going to come up. So definitely, this is something which you have actually given a takeaway from this generic answer as well. That is something which I would like to put
Right.
across in this way.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Now, moving ahead with the industrial setup and the career shift and the strategies which the students are facing. So I have seen that there are a lot of restructuring in the firm which is happening. Even we discussed that. You mentioned the point about it when we were having this kind of conversation. There are so many layoffs which are happening, reshuffling, okay, uncertainty is there. And I can actually put across, because I've been teaching mergers and acquisition to the students. I make it a point that I teach something very practical which is going on. So this is something which is actually affecting the freshers, if I'll talk about the in the working point of view, and of course in the theoretical way also, because we have to impart that kind of knowledge to the students. So what
Right.
is your take on that? Like how are this is affecting the
Right.
students?
See, I think there's hardly anything that we can do about it, honestly, like from a student perspective or let's say a fresher perspective, but we can understand the repercussions. Maybe we can take some, remedial measures or some precautionary measures, I would say. So, for example, let's say so what is the effect of this? Like, why are we even discussing this? So, for example, let's say there's this one student who's interned at a law firm and that person has gotten a call back. The next time the person goes, the team has vanished and moved to another law firm. Now, where does your callback go? What
Hmm,
happens to your
hmm,
BPO? What happens to your
hmm,
interview? Like
hmm,
everything goes down the drain. And worse still, that if you go land up in the law firm, you
hmm.
keep interning them with the callback also, and then the team goes to any other law firm, which is even worse, I feel, right?
Worse.
Because
Hmm.
you put in two internships for you to realize the team has gone,
One.
basically,
Hmm.
right? So my understanding would say this that if you have a callback lined up with another law firm, please make sure the callback is very near to the first callback only. Don't put a gap of one year in the two callbacks. tasks, because by that time you don't know what the team structure is going to be. That is one thing. That is the first. Secondly, even if let's say you're going back for a callback, which is let's say spaced out at 3 months, 6 months, 10 months, whatever the spacing out is for you, please check whether, let's say, the team that you had interned with, has that team already gone to any other law firm already, because that news will be very publicly available, right? So if in case that team has already gone, please have a word with the HR beforehand that, listen, my callback is scheduled for so and so team, but the team has already left, as is very publicly known. So now what happens to my PPO? Like, do I still get considered for a PPO, or is it going to be like a first time internship with me for the next law firm? That needs to be like a very clear cut conversation, right? Thirdly, I think just keeping a track on the partner also, that, like, sometimes when you intern in a partner's team, there are certain partners I know have shifted law firms in like one year each,
One
literally.
year. Yes,
So like
yes.
it's been like 6 years of them being a partner after all the PASA level, and then all 6 years, six law firms, because everybody gave them like a higher offer and they shifted out.
Shifted out.
It's very risky for an intern, obviously. So please make sure कि आप जब intern कर रहे हो कहीं पर, check who the partner is. Have they had the tendency to shift out very, very quickly, from those firms? So just so that you can keep a track on the whole movement and like have a word with the HR in case the shifting happens again. And lastly, I think having a word with the partner themselves. So I've had interns who I've told them, like, I usually guide interns, ki bhai, halfway through the internship, just go and speak to the partner once about your PPO, about anything. So I've had multiple opportunities where people have gone up to the partners and spoken to them, and partners have been candid enough to say, don't reveal it to other people that we are about to now shift out from this law firm. So please don't expect any sort of an opportunity from us right now in the organization. So it shouldn't be like that you're just working in isolation on tasks without any understanding on
Exactly.
whether the partner is shifting out or not. So make sure you're having not exactly this conversation, but at least a conversation with the partner,
Conversation of yes.
so that it helps you, in future. And then obviously maintaining contact with the team, so that let's say whichever firm they shift out to, maybe at that time they can call you for a PPO interview or for any other assessment internship with the newer firm, that they have shifted into. So I think it has a very huge repercussion and a very like a damning repercussion for students only and freshers. So yeah, I think all of these measures should be taken into account. Yeah.
Into account. And
Yeah.
I think, the way you have pointed out that, there should be no gaps, and you please
Hmm.
better have a clear conversation. I can give you numerous examples where the
Hmm.
students have got even the assessment internships. They are going to seek for the PPO, but what they are feeling, because there are students who are coming and talking to me about it, that ma'am, हमें लगा कि अभी internship हो रहा है, अभी अच्छे से चल रहा है, why to speak about these things? And once they're out, you leave that kind of leak, and once you leave that leak,
Yeah.
वो वापस उस स्टेज में
No
जाना,
one's going to recognize you. No one's got the time
exactly,
to recognize you.
exactly,
And that's the harsh truth. Like,
that is the
no one
harsh
wants
truth.
to get back to you for a job offer. Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly, no one. And
Huh.
this clear conversation, before, just a day before yesterday, I was into my fitness regime, and I had a friend of mine. She is actually a kind of junior to me, and she's working in a very good consultancy firm, and we were
Hmm.
having a conversation, and she just mentioned that, now I'm planning to have a job shift. So I said that, why suddenly you're working so well, you're getting good pay and everything, you have a good package. Then
Hmm.
she said that, we were having these kind of cultural stuffs and everything, and then when I was talking to the people whom I'm reporting to, the partners and everyone, they're actually planning to leave, and we had no idea about it, that this is
Right.
going to happen. If this going to happen, I don't know whom I'm going to report to, and I might lose that kind of flexibility which I'm having.
Right.
So
Fair.
I don't think that it is for the students who are outside, but even to the people who are actually working inside,
Exactly.
we do have a very
Yes.
clear-cut conversation. So I was
Yes.
amazed, like, okay, this is the scenario. She said, yes, one fine day suddenly we'll get that, your partners and everyone has changed. Now what next?
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
I think this is something which
Yeah.
everyone
Yeah.
should take into
Exactly.
consideration.
So which means that if someone's working in a law firm, a company right now, they should just be mindful of their environment,
Mindful
right?
of
And
it,
like
yes.
just not keep working in isolation. That's
Yes,
pretty much
yes,
that.
yes.
Yeah.
And you need to have that clear cut of conversation. Rest very rightly pointed out. And with this, I also want to, speak to you something about which was very talked in last few days and few months after the judgment, the recent judgment which came across with respect to the practicing. Okay, the 3-year litigation rule before going into the judicial examination, and there was like I received messages, so I'm
Hmm.
pretty much sure that you might be flooded with messages,
Yes,
right?
definitely.
So
Yes,
I
yes.
just want to know that what is your take on that, and how do you feel, and what do you suggest to the learners that when they have this kind of confusion, what should they do? Because I can give you one real example. I had an ex-student of mine, cleared his prelims, was appearing for the mains and everything, was not able to clear the mains, so he was again diving into the same field, and he said that, ma'am, I'll be able to take out, I just need some time. And then suddenly this judgment came across, and
Right.
he gave me a call. He said, ma'am, I'm looking for jobs now. I said, what about your judiciary? I don't know, I'm so confused. This
Hmm.
was the scenario. So what is your take on that, Ashna?
Right. I mean, firstly, though, I'm glad that there's a review petition already filed on the
Yes.
judge. So I'm just glad about that. But nonetheless, I still feel that I mean, this judgment uh given by obviously the honorable judges of the Supreme Court, I feel that a lot of factors were not taken into account. Like, for example, there are huge gender disparities as well. Firstly, gender was not taken into account. Like, women would not
Mm.
get the similar opportunity. Like, we ourselves sitting in this episode talked about marriage and how it may impact my work. Definitely is going to impact the people who are not from a privileged setup as well, right? Nobody is going to give them, like, okay, you wait for 3 years, do litigation, and then you appear for exams for another 2 years, 3 years. Nobody is going
Yes.
to give them that sort of a leverage, right? So the ratio for females is going to drop like anything. I feel
Mm.
that's one thing. Then there are so many people who can't sustain in litigation because litigation is not sustainable in India. That is like a very harsh truth, and that's like a very known truth. I feel to all the honorable judges and all the people in the Supreme Court, High Court, everywhere. But I think still, when this decision came out, I think it was a little bit disheartening for those people as well that we can't sustain in litigation as a career for 3 years, right? That's another thing. And then I think just waiting around for 3 years without any clarity on the career that you may have, uh, and it definitely impacts you. And I think the major impact comes in how people get selected for higher judiciary as well, as it is the rate for people who get promoted from the lower judiciary to the high courts is very low. I think I read it on Supreme Court Observer. It was around only 40-45% of the people who actually get
Get in.
the final lot of the 40% only is from the lower judiciary, right? 40-45% people. It's going to be way lower now because then already you are taking away 3 years from
Hmm.
their practice, and then the retirement age is still the same. So obviously it's going to impact the promotions at some point, right?
Some
They are
point.
going to get pushed by 3 years again. So the promotions are going to go even lower now, the rates from the lower judiciary. So now only when people get selected directly from the vakil quotas and like they go get selected in the High Court or the Supreme Court as a judge, that's how they can become it. But otherwise, there's no other way now,
One.
basically. So I
Yes.
think it's all in all, I feel that the socio-economic implications of this judgment was very high, I feel. Uh,
Yes.
so like maybe some real-time studies should have been done, some surveys should have been conducted, etc. Not just on the opinion of bar councils or like the senior advocates should the judgment have come out, because now the senior advocates have established themselves, they have their own offices, etc. So maybe sometimes the socio implications of a
Have been
decision
taken
are
into.
very
Yes.
huge and very disheartening for a lot of people. So I'm just glad that there's a review petition filed. I hope something positive comes out
Hmm.
of that as well. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so definitely, I think whatever you have said, you just mentioned, I can totally connect, because, of course, litigation is going to be a hard truth. And this is something in India. I have also been into that kind of line, and you've been also there
Right.
at some point of time. So we are very much aware that how practically things are very different. Adding to this, there is one more scenario, like you mentioned about the practical aspect which has to be taken into consideration. That is definitely for sure. You need to see the practical application, because at one point of time, in the newspapers, in the editorial, you are mentioning that there are so many seats vacant for the judiciary, there are so much
Exactly.
of pending cases which are going across. Me being practicing dispute resolution, so for a matter of fact, you're not even giving that kind of independent substance to dispute resolution,
Right.
and then again coming back to pending beginning of
Right.
judiciary and then this kind of judgment. So yes, of course,
Yes.
very rightly pointed out that there has to be some empirical research around the ground just in order to have a concrete decision. So let's see. I just hope that the review petition do make some sense.
Yeah, yeah, hopefully, yes.
Yes. Okay, now we'll move towards the last segment of our talk. But before that, I just wanted to have one a kind of advice from you as well to the next generation lawyers which are coming across. And before that, I know that you've been dealing with interviews, you've been dealing with personal, one-to-one session, resume building, so many things you're doing, and you get so many questions related to it. Even we have worked specifically on that. But
Right.
keeping that segment apart, I just wanted to ask you that what excites you more in your work? Like, how do you put across? Because this is more towards your centric rather than, going to the work centric.
So I think it's for me, it's about solving the puzzle, right? At the end of the day. So,
Hmm.
for example, if somebody is like, oh, I did this and then I did that, but now I'm not understanding how to move into the third direction. Now I still don't have this element in my CV. I just like to solve that puzzle and like make it very, very, easy going for them. That okay, pick one element from this, one element from this, and now these are the three directions that you can go into. And that is the relief when I see on the other person's face, be like, okay, yeah, yes, this can be done. Of course, why didn't I think of it before? I think
Hmm.
that is what gives me the most validation, I would feel. And even the same goes for an interview. Like I have seen many people coming up to me saying, oh, I have a career gap, now what do I do? Oh, I left the law firm, because it was very toxic law firm, but now I can't say this to the next law firm. And then when I give them an answer like, okay, just say this script, maybe let's say, and it should work for you. And if it actually works for them, they're like, yeah, of course it did work for them. And they'd never cross question me on this. And I'm so relieved that I don't have to bring up my toxic work environment from the past in front of, the newer interviewer that's coming up. Or, oh yeah, like I'm glad I've tackled the question for my career gap. So I think it's the ultimate relief when I see on people's face that, okay, yes, this is the part of the puzzle that I was looking for. And I think that is something that I enjoy the most, be it while I'm guiding them how to redraft the resume, while drafting the cover letter, while doing a mentorship session, whatever it might be. It's just that solving part that gives me, I
Excites you
think,
the
the
most.
most validation for myself. Yes.
So I can totally connect
Mm.
through it, like coming
Mm.
out from a lecture, and we had a very great session someday. A lot of questions came across, and I
Right,
was able to solve them. Then you get
right.
that kind of satisfaction. Okay, whatever I've learned, there's a bit of it which I'm able to impart. So I think yes, of
Exactly.
course.
Yes, yes,
Okay,
yeah.
now we'll move on to the last segment, and this particular segment is basically from my team. Okay, because it's you, and they've been keep on watching your reels, and they've been also a part of you. You know how you teach the students, so they have introduced this part in the podcast as well. So I was
So,
like, okay, so it's a kind of rapid fire segment where you don't have to think, just answer.
okay.
Okay. So there's one legal book which you could recommend every student to study across.
So, okay, so I'll change the question. I don't want it to be a legal book. I want it to be any book, okay, that I would want to recommend to lawyers or law students. So I think there are two books actually. Again, I'm changing the question. So one would be, I think, Animal Farm by George Orwell. I think everybody, every living person should read it. And how, so basically the context of the book is that how rules keep changing, basically. For
Hmm.
somebody who's in the power, how laws keep changing. For somebody
Hmm.
who's in the power, they have the authority to change the law. So it's a very tiny classic, and I think it's a mind-blowing book. One should read the Russian Revolution ka basic context and then read the book. It's going to be fantastic. And second is a book I think that I read last year, is by a partner. If I'm not wrong, he's at CAM right now, Shishir Vedyanathan. I hope I'm not butchering the name. The book's name is Kill the Lawyers. So again,
Okay.
it's a really good book. It's like a collection of short stories from, it's fictionalized, of course, but it's like from the time that there have been certain transactions, certain deals have happened, certain flips have happened, and the lawyer has basically tried to bring it up in a humorous, crude humor situation. So I think it's a great book. And if somebody is interested in M&A and like public M&A and like open offers, etc., and to read that book along with it in a fictionalized format, it's going to be a cherry on the top. So if you like being a corporate lawyer, reading that book is like a plus one for you. So yeah.
Great, great. And the way you are answering and the way you're changing my questions, I'm so glad I don't have an app for this. Okay, because I won't be able to provide you one.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
So
Right.
next is like, because we have been dealing with the students and resume, one resume tip that quickly comes to your mind that is helpful for the students to level up their profile.
Right. So I think don't make an info dump in your resume. Your resume is not like a dump of information ki bas sab kaam kar liya and we've written every possible thing on the CV. It
Hmm.
should only be let's say relevant to the area of law that you are applying for. So let's say if you had internships in like 6 different areas, but you only have three relevant like three relevant internships for let's say one particular area, only write those three relevant internships. That's one thing, if
Hmm.
it makes sense. Secondly, is that of course, when I say info dump, I mean categorize the information. So let's say maybe
Yes.
some part of information is due diligence, some is corporate transactions, some is corporate compliance. So please categorize that information and then write work underneath that. So that when someone reads it, they don't have to read the entire resume. They can just look at the headings and know that, okay, you have these 6 skills in your CV and get done with it. So first, don't make it a dump. And secondly, categorize it according to the skills of the area that you're applying. So yeah.
And when you say that, I think people should also know that you just don't have to write anything which you are not even the part of it, right? Because that is
Definitely
something
not. Yes,
I
yes,
have come across. Such resume, written so many skills and everything. What have you done there? Blank. Okay. So
right.
yes, when you write that categorizing and skill part, I think that is something which should come hand in hand.
Yes.
Okay. Any productivity hack which you want to, say to the learners?
I think okay, so one, if we just go by a conventional hack, I would say that it's the Pomodoro technique, which is like the universal technique. It actually,
Universe.
it just works. And I think like we discussed about my Instagram, it was actually one of my first posts on my Instagram. If somebody scrolls back, I'd written like a small Canva post on like Pomodoro technique. So I think it genuinely works if you
Works.
implement it. But I
Huh.
think I'll be very honest, the one technique that works for me is to just put my phone on charge in a different room and then to actually work on my
Work.
laptop, right?
Yes.
So I think that genuinely works and it just works for me. So I think that's the only technique that I'd like to tell.
I think this is a very wrong and misnomer connection which I would like to say. Just before this podcast, I was having a nap. Okay, and my
Right.
parents called and they were like, "You were not picking up the phone." I said, "I get so many calls, I get distracted." So I put it on mute, no matter whatever important it is,
Yes.
and then only I am able to complete that. So
Right.
yes, of course, very rightly said, a very good productivity hack. Now
Right.
again, another rapid fire question, not coming from me. Please don't judge me on this. But the best peach tea, iced tea which you want to suggest to everyone or
Right.
which you
I
had
think,
so far?
yeah, I think I know where this is coming from. I've put that on my LinkedIn that I'm,
Yes,
trying to
yes,
find the best peach iced tea. But unfortunately, I haven't found any. The ones that I like is, I think, the one in social, it's really good. The peach iced tea that they have, they make it. I think, I don't know how they make it. It's just good. There was this one cafe in Jodhpur, Barnala. It just closed, unfortunately. So the peach iced tea is not available any longer. But yeah, I don't like the all the pre-made iced tea. I actually like making it with the proper tea at home, which I think my husband makes. He actually makes the tea and then like he freezes it and then he puts the peaches in it, etc. So I think that is really good for me. But I think in terms of cafes, socials, peach iced tea is good up until now. Yes.
so I can take that answer as your husband. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, if you
And
have to, yes, yes,
yes, and
yeah.
then the next thing which I can do is that drop a comment where you can get the answer for.
Right, right.
Okay.
Huh.
Moving towards the end of the segment, I didn't knew that how this 50-55 minutes just went across, but
Right.
I just want to give an illustration, and with that illustration I want to pose this question to you.
Hmm.
So recently I visited to one of the tier firm, AZB, and other firms as well, LKS and all, because I've been into placement, so I've been talking to students, and for that I need to brush up myself as well. So I won't take names, okay, but then when we were sitting in the meeting and when I was taking that kind of training which I can impart to the students, I came across something which the new generation lawyer or to the first years and everyone, what these people were putting across, that just a simple example, if I'm calling someone at 10 o'clock, I know that today's lawyer is going to report at 10:20. So what is your take on that? Do you have any message for the, first year students or the new generation lawyer with respect to these spectrums, which has been talked about?
Right. I think, okay, so firstly, I feel that I think sometimes the criticism is unnecessary also for the
Yes,
younger
yes.
generation. It's not
Hmm,
like that they're always late or like they're always complacent. I don't think. I've seen the most professional people from like who are maybe, let's say, like 10 years younger to me. They're like more professional
hmm,
than
hmm,
me. So I think that is one thing that I'll give it to them. So I think it very much depends on person to person. Plus, I think with in terms of timings at law firms, it's actually very cultural setup that the law firm
hmm,
has. So, for
hmm,
example, some law firms, again, without naming any firms, they have a punch in time that okay, if you don't punch in by 10, like
hmm,
half
hmm.
day salary gone, etc. So they have that culture. You have to adhere to that culture.
Adhere
So
to that.
whoever's listening, please like adhere to the culture. But like when I was working in law firms at my internships or otherwise as well, I understood from within 1 or 2 weeks that someone whom I'm working with, let's say in one of the internships that I actually got a PPO interview also from, I realized that the team only used to come to office at like 11:30 a.m., 12, and then they used to stay back till like really late in the night, like till 12, 1, 2, etc. So they were okay in coming late, right, the next morning because they were anyway staying back also in
Staying
the
back.
night. What I used to do at that time was to reach at 9 a.m., 9 a.m., 9 a.m. One day my PA called me and he's like, Ashna, why are you coming to office at 9 a.m.?
Yeah.
You are also staying back with us till like 12, 1, 2 in the night. So please come at ease. And they themselves told me to come at like 11ish if
Hmm.
like if
That is
I
fine.
manage that. So I was like, okay, yeah, I understand. So I actually understand that this is in culture of the organization that you have to understand that what is it that they want from you. And I think then adhering to that would be the best way to go about it. And if you're very unsure, I think normal working hours of like 10 a.m. is like the best way to go about it right in the beginning. And after that, as and when you understand, you can tailor the timings accordingly, basically.
So
That's it.
basically, I think I'll take that as your last message for the students as well. So what you're trying to put in that we need to adhere to the culture. And I think that
Yes.
is very
Huh.
important because
Mm.
what happens that when you don't adhere to the culture, you become, you paint a wrong picture about your image, which is absolutely
Right.
wrong because maybe you're not that kind of person.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
Yes. Huh.
basically, I would, and just adding to it, do you have any last thoughts for the listeners or do you want to add on anything?
Right. I think just simply that so while I was in law school, ठीक, everybody wanted a job and all, but it wasn't very high pressure situation at that point in time that eventually you will get a job, ठीक है. But now I understand the pressures are very high, the competition is very high. So I just feel that people should take out some time for themselves also. It's not like all 12 months they're interning. Just take out some time, go travel somewhere if you can. Have a hobby for yourself so that after a long day, when you come back, you have something to do for yourself also. Or try and have a slow start to the day. Like get up a little bit early, have a slow start to the day, have coffee, read a book, read the paper if possible. So I think just taking out some time to yourself puts you out of that automation from your life.
Automation.
And I think it brings more mindfulness to the life that you're living. Yeah, I think that's pretty much what I want to say for this, like highly competitive environment that all of us are in. I think taking out some time for ourselves is necessary at this point.
Necessary.
Yeah.
Yes. And lately I've learned it at a very high risk, but yes, of course, whatever you stated is absolutely correct that
Right,
we need to take
right,
our time for ourselves, and that is very important. So, to the closing remark, I think the learners are absolutely aware that how they can connect to you. They
sure.
have all your social media handlers. And lastly, I just want to say that Ashna, thank you so much, for taking out time and doing this. I don't know that we had such a fluid conversation. I didn't even understood. I was not keeping the record of the time, and
Right,
like the essence which says that uplifting. So you have actually
right.
uplifted my podcast. So thank you so much for being
I'm
there.
glad. I'm glad you think so. Right, right.
Thank you. Thank you so much for your time. And to the viewers, I would say that please do watch this episode. And I think she has spoken her heart out, and which is absolutely very connectivity. You can actually find the connectivity to whatever we are doing in our day-to-day life. And so thank you so much, Ashna. Thank you so much for doing this.
Sure, sure. Thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah.
Okay.